coming into music.
No,
I don't think we have that in us. Like, just going to be professionals and start.
right? Like in the middle of a sentence sometimes.
Sometimes it's just, this is how we roll.
Yeah. What's up, Patreon? How are you? Hello to our council chambers who are here live with us.
Always
got a nice crowd
awesome
out here
to have
tonight.
you.
That's very
It
cool.
is good, especially considering we sent the link out and the notice like 20 minutes ago. So
Did we really?
yeah.
God, Jeff, you're such a slacker, man.
I know. I mean, we didn't even create the room till 25 minutes ago.
That is truth. That is truth.
There's
But
that.
I did send a notice out, like it was on the Discord, but I sent a notice out like, hey, we're gonna be recording this tonight. So hopefully.
And I'm like,
we
hey,
had
we're
a
gonna do the
heads
other
up.
one on Saturday. Like, maybe.
Oh, you said that? I didn't see it. So.
Yeah.
Fabio, it's midnight in Brazil and he's hanging out with us. Good night.
That's awesome.
Delenn, it's 3 a.m. over in Blighty. I love that.
3
we use
a.m.?
Delenn. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. That's about, they're 5 hours up on me anyway. So yeah. Delenn's like greetings from the future.
Right. Also, she caught it that we got caught in a tachyon burst. We're podcasting in an alternate reality. That's why we were late getting on.
We're late getting on.
And Sarah, I'm with you. This whole 7 p.m. thing works out pretty great for us.
Yeah, but you guys also have to watch football at like 10 o'clock
10
in the morning or whatever.
That's great.
That's crazy.
Get up, start your day. There it is.
That's crazy. I like this. They're trying to figure out how long this show is going to go for. Sarah
What's the
says
over under?
Well, Sarah says 2 hours. Delenn says 2 hours. Fabio says 47 minutes. Nice, Fabio. Nice.
For
I
you.
like it. Delenn goes 65 minutes. Nice, Delenn. I like that one too. And Sarah asked the question, have we ever done less than an hour? Jeff?
Yep.
The answer is yes. And that included Club 65.
Mm-hmm.
And we cut it short just to keep it under an hour. Like, I remember that. Like,
We had
it was
a handful, like,
59
this is gonna-
minutes and 30 seconds
Right.
or something.
This is going to be our shortest episode ever.
Yeah.
We've had a few that have been pretty close.
I do. So
What do you think? What are you going to put this one at? What do you think?
I'm going to set the over under at an hour.
An hour?
Yeah, I'm going to set it at an hour. What do you think?
I would take the over on that. So I'd put the over under at about an hour 15.
I would take way under on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think, I mean, I think this is going to be fairly straightforward. Like, so much of this, Jeff, is going to be like, yep, that's what he said in his book. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I hope that we can keep this entertaining, because ultimately this is supposed to be entertainment.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So I hope that this is entertaining. I hope that it's informative. I certainly was eye-opening reading this book, for sure. And I love that we got to do this. I love that we didn't do this on our first watch, and we now have this going into the second watch, because you and I were just watching a scene. We'll probably save this for the show, but whatever. You and I were just watching a scene, and knowing things that we know now, watching like, oh my God, JMS wrote that, given this was his story.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It's
oh my gosh.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So anyway, so welcome to the council chambers. You guys talk, comment, all that sort of stuff. We'll pick you up somewhere along the way, and all that. Stick around for the end. You guys know how this works.
Yeah. Just so Patreon knows, there's I'm going to say a 99.9% chance that my opening theme will get copyrighted on YouTube. So this is something you get to hear, and the rest of the world probably won't.
Patreon exclusive,
Right.
because the copyright nerds out there are...
Seriously. Although it's great because Ira generally cuts off the intro for YouTube right now anyway. So
Yeah. Oh, really?
yeah, I didn't notice that till this one with Road Home, and I was like, hey, wait a minute.
Really?
There wasn't a thing. Yeah, I went back and checked, and yeah, she's been cutting the intro off. So
That's what we get for not checking.
I know.
We got to talk to her.
Be like, hey, moving forward.
Yeah.
Well, with that, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Okay.
Let's do
Here
it.
we go. Welcome to Babylon 5 for the first time. My name is Jeff Akin.
And I'm Brent Allen. You know, Jeff and I, a long time ago, actually, I guess we still are sort of, are two veteran Star Trek podcasting nerds that decided to watch Babylon 5, well, for the first time. And we fell in love with it so much that we just couldn't stop. We were only going to do 110 episodes, and we said, nay, let's keep going. And today, Jeff, this is this the final episode of Babylon 5 for the first time?
It is.
Like there's, because next week, the second time starts.
Exactly.
But is this actually the first time? Because last week was the entire series wrap up. Is this a No Man's Land episode? Or
so I feel like we did a series wrap up. This is like the meta series wrap up.
Right. This is like the epilogue or whatever.
There you go.
I like the meta series wrap up. That's cool.
Coin that term.
There you go. Anyway, we are continuing the journey, and we're putting a capstone on it before we start our rewatch of everything by reading, or in my case, listening to JMS's autobiography, Becoming Superman, for the first time.
We are, and we're going to have a little bit of a different format than usual. There's going to be no rule of three. Brent, we're not talking about Star Trek.
There's no format to this. This is completely a unique type of show.
Come on, there's a format to this thing. We're working with a professional here. Like, there's headings. That's a format. That's all we need, right?
We got bullet points.
Yeah. What more do you need? I mean, that's all. We'll just riff on it from there. Which actually I think generally works because, Brent.
Yes.
We have a 5-star review.
Oh, yes.
This one's off Podchaser. OJ McGann says, an excellent podcast about an excellent series. Highly entertaining and highly recommended. The rapport between the hosts is great and the production is top notch. If you are in any way a fan of B5, listen to this podcast. It's truly like watching it all for the first time.
Hey, Jeff, you know what?
What's that?
You and I are highly entertaining and highly recommended.
We are.
That's pretty phenomenal.
Right?
Thanks, OG McGann? McGann. Thanks, OG McGann. OJ. I'm sorry. OJ McGann. I like to think that we have a pretty good rapport, Jeff.
I do too.
I like to think that. So, and I like to think that our production is top notch.
I like to think that.
We try, listen, we try to put money back into the show and improve things and make things better. And here we are.
Always room to get a little better, right? Always.
Yeah.
But
listen, we haven't arrived yet.
Nope.
We'll keep moving.
Pretty dang close, but
wow. Anyway, thank you, OJ McGann. So with that, Jeff, like we said, we're reading, or we have read, Becoming Superman, the autobiography of J. Michael Straczynski, or Joseph Michael Straczynski. Could have just been Joe Straczynski, or Joe M. I mean, we'll talk about that actually.
Joey
at
Mike.
some point. Joey Mike. Oh, I like that.
All right.
What's up, Joey Mike? You just sounded like the intro to Netflix. Boom.
I did. That's actually how I live. I just had the residuals from hitting that for him.
I like it. So we've never done anything like this before, Jeff. And this is typically the part of the show where like we would recap what happened. We're not going to recap the whole book. Listen, if you haven't already, go read the book. And if you're like me, get the audio book, which Peter Jurczyk does a fantastic job.
Incredible.
And I got to tell you, in my head now, JMS's voice is Peter Jurczyk's voice. Like it really is. But go get the book. There's no way that book was 16 hours for me to listen to.
It's not a short book, almost 500 pages. Like, look at all this.
Wow, yeah.
Like, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah. It was, but it's a great read. It's truly a captivating read. Like I would have started reading this, and I don't tend to like blast through books. This is one I would have blasted through. I really would have. But instead, Jeff, that doesn't mean we're not going to do our for the first time thing.
Exactly. Like, we'll talk about our observations, our ahas, stuff like that. I think we should talk about the things that connect directly to Babylon 5 that we read in there that we can see direct connections to. And we'll do that for the first time thing. We will talk about the messages that we found in the book.
Do you mean the sci-fi messages that we found?
Yes, sci-fi messages. Although these are just messages.
These
This
are just
book is
life
not sci-fi.
messages, man.
This is
life
nonfiction.
messages.
Nonfiction right here.
Yeah, it sure is. And Jeff, we are going to answer. I'm insisting on this one. We were in our prep for this, and I said this has to be something that we do in this show.
What I love about what we're going to do is we are so famous. We are infamous for developing the definitive and objectively correct rankings of all of the seasons and all of the episodes of Babylon 5. We're going to continue that tradition here. No, not of ranking, but of the objectively, definitively correct answer.
Oh, yes. This will be definitive and objective. And it is in regards to an infamous question of did Star Trek rip off Babylon 5 or not? We are going to finally definitively answer that question tonight.
Right here.
Yes.
It's going to be good. So Brent, we read this thing. I listened to the audiobook as well, and then I got the actual book itself. So
nerd. You're a nerd.
Do you know how hard it was to get my hands on this thing?
No, you need to tell this story because this was so good.
So we're doing we would do preparation, right? So I'm taking notes, and I can't do it on the audiobook. I'm just like having a hard time scrolling around. I'm like, I got to get my hands on this book. My local library doesn't have it. And if you don't use your local library, please let me encourage you to do so. Libraries are an amazing place, but it didn't have this. So I was like, shoot, let me find a bookstore that has it. Nobody had it. So I ended up, I won't say the name of it.
You went to a big major retailer that is, it's, you know what it is? It's Narns and Londos.
Boba. And
Bobles.
Boba.
Narns and Bobles.
Narns and Boba tea or something. So I ended up going there, and so we have a couple of those here in the Portland area.
Hey, by the way, I'm sorry. If you are a representative of Narns and Boba tea, if you would like for us to actually reinsert the actual name, you can send a check to us, and we'd be more than happy to do that.
Very happy to do so. So I found one copy. It's a copy that said, one of the stores said there's a copy in stock. So I'm like, let's go. And luckily it's a place I love shopping anyway. So we head down. I go up and I'm like, where are the autobiographies? Like, this is a bookstore. Shouldn't there be? Well, there's no autobiography section. I'll check sci-fi. Nothing there. God, I don't know where it's going to be. Oh, excuse me, person that works here. Where are your autobiographies? Well, it depends on which one you're looking for, which, I mean, just world according to Jeff here, not a good way to organize your bookstore. Of course, no one did ask me, but I asked this person, and they said, which one are you looking for? And I said, well, it's from J. Michael Straczynski, Becoming Superman. And she's like, I never heard of that. Let me pull that up and look. And I can
scoffed at you.
Yeah, I can feel the judgment. Like, it's just like this physical, palpable judgment from her. Right. And I'm like, God, like, I was going to buy you a boba tea even. Like, now that's off the table. She writes it down. She goes, stand by. I'll be right back. Well, she didn't say stand by because that's the thing I would say as a nerd. She said, I'll be right back. Stay here. So I'm hanging out and like 5 minutes go by, like a long time. I thought for sure that she had forgotten me. She comes back. She's holding the book and she says, this here is the only copy in all of our stores in the entire state of Oregon. Boom.
There you
go. It was meant to be.
Mm-hmm. The universe conspired together, brought its stardust together to put that book into your hands, Mr. Stardust.
It did. And I couldn't be more grateful because it helped me really see some other stuff in the book that I may not have pulled out when going through the audiobook. But I know I had some thoughts going through it, but I'm curious, like, what were your just observations? Did you have any big ahas or anything like that when you were listening through?
I don't know that I would say any like ahas, but there were certainly some pieces of his story. And I'm going to pick out a few, just some highlights that really stood out to me. one, I loved his story of how he was taking extra classes in college
Mm-hmm.
and he shouldn't have been. And he just like, he did what he needed to do to make it happen. Like he snuck into this class over here. He snuck into the administration office and changed something. He
like doctored up the records and everything.
Yeah. Here's the thing. When I was in college, I took the same load that he did.
Really?
And I didn't think it was that hard, to be honest with you. Like it was, I took 21, 22, 19. And then my last like couple of semesters, I had like 11, 13 credits. Like,
wow.
Cause I didn't have anything else. Like I'd done it all already.
But also like to that point, you are a person with multiple degrees.
It is true.
Yeah. Like,
yes. Yes. And more on the way, as it were.
uh-huh.
But I loved how he went through that, personally, just related to it. And there were times I have to tell you, there were times where I had to pull a little shenanigans and not let the left hand know what the right hand was doing to make things work out. And
really?
By the time people figured it out, I was already there and they were like, well, whatever.
Too much paperwork to back out of it at this point.
Yeah. Well, you're already there. You're already there and you're doing fine. So, but don't do it again. Okay. Sure. I tell you, one of my favorite parts though, was talking about how he came up with the name, like his byline name, the J. Michael Straczynski, because he doesn't go by J. He doesn't go by Michael. He's Joe. Like that's what he is. He's Joe. Like why not go with Joe Straczynski or Joe whatever? Maybe he does what I do and he'll just go with Joe Michael.
Right.
Or Joseph Michael, right? Like, that J. Michael Straczynski, and it just boiled down to a very simple, it's balanced that way.
Yeah.
It just visually looks better that way. I'm like, I like that.
I get that. Yeah.
I dig that. So, I love his story about faking the master's diploma. You know, like full on faking the whole damn thing for his dad.
And no Photoshop. Like this was hardcore. Like
this was Leonardo DiCaprio in that Frank Abagnale movie where he was the con art, the check forger guy. He played against Tom Hanks. I forget the name of that movie. Catch Me If You Can. It was him in Catch Me If You Can, like in the hotel room with the bathtub, like taking the stickers off toys and putting them on the checks and all that sort of stuff. Like, oh my gosh. There were some really messed up things though.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we can get out of here without talking about just how messed up it was. There's a moment where he's talking about his wife, and I don't remember if they were married at the time or if it was after they had separated, but she just looks at him one day and she's just like, "Your family." And he's like, "Yeah, I know." Yeah. And I'm sitting here as a reader at that point going, yeah, what are you guys doing? To just the craziness of stuff that happened with his grandma. And I mean, obviously his dad was just something awful to the point that he tried suing him if you don't retract what you're saying. And then when he finally got him, oh no, I'm sorry. I just, you know, like really. But the one that really stood out to me, and I remember I was in a Dick's Sporting Goods, which is funny because the one that stood out to me was him talking. Yeah, it is. Where he's talking about getting a vasectomy, and I'm in a Dick's Sporting Goods in the ball section. I was just like, oh my God. But it was like for him, it was an act of responsibility, but it was ultimately a big F you to his dad.
Exactly.
That's what the whole thing was just a big no to his dad. And he got the kind like way back when, and it is not reversible at all. Like, and he's probably really okay with that. So
I'd imagine so. It probably worked out.
So, you know, the only other things I can really bring up are stuff that are going to talk about the rest of our conversation tonight. So, I do want to bring up one thing, and this is very personal, very, very personal to me, considering how much flack I took for this. We even got angry emails about this, Jeff.
you had a new name because of this.
I did. And I kept it. I still have it. It's mine. But I just want to mark it down. And you guys can go listen to the audio version. Hour 11, minute 33. Some odd seconds in there. Peter Jurasik himself pronounces the name Ivanova.
Yep.
Just saying.
Who's a chuckle nugget now, Peter?
There you go, Chucks. Jeff, those are some of mine. How about you? What are some of your more general observations about the whole thing?
I just had so much ignorance about what his history was. I think I generally, we knew just from conversations that his childhood was horrible and he got caught up in weird religious stuff. And honestly, like I was expecting more weird with the religious stuff. Like really with the religion, what I really got out of it was he got popped into the Jesus movement and all the stuff that went on with that.
If I may dive into that, we heard a lot of people talk about how he got caught up with a cult, using very specifically the word cult. And I'm sure on some level, according to some textbook definition, what he was involved in probably meets the criteria of cult.
Maybe.
But what it really just sounded, as you just said, just the Jesus, it just sounded like any typical mega church where a pastor has a moral failure, a major moral failure. But the idea of living in a community, the community house and stuff. And I mean, it seems harsh, but the whole, like, yeah, if you make money, you give it to the whole, to the collective. Yeah. And that's a part of what it means to live here. If you're going to live here, well, nobody's forcing your hand here.
Exactly.
This is completely voluntary. And I'm curious, Jeff, if JMS himself calls that a cult, or is that just something that readers have said over time? Because it certainly comes off like that, but I don't know that it really, I don't think we're talking David Koresh here.
Well, I think the two thoughts I have there is like that communal living happens today.
Sure.
Where, we live in community. My money goes to the community. If I want to go date someone, if I want to go get a job, if I want to something, I clear it through the community because it's not about me. It's about we. And I don't know, a substantial percentage of the time, people who with weird stuff end up in charge and make it all super weird. That's what happens. But
because it turns out people are fallible and, jacked up people. So
it's like, who knew? Who knew? Right? Personally, and I don't want to go into deep detail into it. I think I've talked about it a little bit before, but I actually did grow up in a cult. Like a for real, hidden behind closed doors, don't talk to certain people, and like weird stuff cult that I got out of quite a long time ago, but some of my family is still a part of it. And I can tell you what I read in this book, not what I experienced. And my stuff wasn't David Koresh. We weren't gonna, we weren't waiting for Hail Bop, and we weren't wearing Nikes or drinking Kool-Aid or anything like that. But it was just some really weird twisting of Christian faith and what that meant for us as people and how we lived our lives. So I feel weird saying I was let down by the religious history in this thing, but I think I was expecting more, but that was totally outweighed by like, oh my freaking goodness, I can't believe his grandparents, his parents.
Right. It was such a small part of like all the crap he went through.
Oh my God.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. It was mind blowing to me, but there's so much more that I just didn't know. I knew that he had written, this was my understanding going in, he had written some comics. I had no idea that like he owned Superman, he owned Spider-Man. Like I had no clue that those things had happened. The movie Changeling, like I'm literally reading the whole thing about it. I'm like, is he talking? Is this that Angelina Jolie movie? What? That was him?
And he'd had that on his plate for what, 30, 40 years before he actually did it. Like, yeah.
Like I had no clue. But one thing that did stand out to me that we know and we've talked about are the relationships that he formed with the people he worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And so the stories that really stood out for me were Harlan Ellison and Andreas Katsoulis. The Harlan Ellison relationship was so much more than I had ever imagined it was. And that's really covered in the epilogue where he talks about where like he wanted Harlan to read it and he didn't get to read, the last run and how that impacted him as a person. And it was pretty, I don't know, interesting to me just that like this whole little, consulting producer line on Babylon 5. Oh, it's neat. Harlan Ellison. It's that guy. But holy, like that was such a moment to be able for him to do that was just huge. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But Andreas Katsoulis, he talks about how he died.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, man, like we're all going to go. It happens to all of us. If I can go out like he did, oh my goodness.
Dude,
that dude died like a champ.
Dude, he went out the way John Sheridan went out in Sleeping in Light.
On his terms.
Like
right?
he called his friends together. They had a little party. I mean, and like
and then
that's
disappeared.
how it went out. Like, yeah.
That's
But if I didn't know better, I would think that he had passed prior to them shooting Sleeping in Light. And that JMS wrote that based on how Andreas Katsoulis handled his final hours.
Absolutely. I didn't put that together, but it makes total sense because that's exactly how it went down.
But that was filmed like what 20 years prior to him passing. So not so much.
I wonder if he was like for 20 years, he's like, well, man, one day I'm going to go. And if I'm healthy enough, I'm totally going to do this.
Dude, that's when my time comes, that would be just phenomenal. Hey, here it is. Here's where we are. Let's get all our friends together. Let's have a big dinner. And then everybody go back to your rooms and I'll slip out in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. It was a neat, and it's neat how he told it. There was just that overall theme, and we had some awareness around this, but just what the people he's worked with mean to him and how he shows up for them. But to share those stories with Katsoulis and Ellison was, I thought I really liked those parts of the book. But you just kind of alluded to it. Like some of these things, this one didn't end up in Babylon 5 from a thing, but like was related, but like some stuff obviously from the book really clearly made it into Babylon 5.
Sure.
What do you have any of those like you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I think that's the thing. And I guess this kind of is the transition there because what you realize knowing Babylon 5, the way that we now know Babylon 5, and then hearing JMS's story and knowing how intimately JMS was involved in the creation and writing of Babylon 5. Babylon 5 was his opus.
Mm-hmm.
That was his magnum opus, magnus opus, whatever it was. That was his like definitive, I'm putting everything into this. This is me on TV in so many ways, right? I have to tell you, if I ever get the opportunity to meet JMS at a con or in a place where they're doing Q&As and I go up to do these kind of Q&As, I've got to imagine these are the kinds of questions he would much rather have people ask, and I don't know what all I guess he probably gets the same questions almost every time he goes out, like wherever he goes. What happened here? What happened there? What's going on? Is this ever going to happen? And these are, I think some of these connections are like, hey, when this thing happened in your life, was that over here? And here's a great example. I'll lead off with this one. And Jeff, if we could on this, let's just bounce back and forth on these.
Yeah.
Cause I've got a list. I'm sure you've got a list, but, so he tells the story of how his mom goes to the hospital. And when she comes home from the hospital, her dad his dad is like, hey, your mom's been sick. Your mom's whatever. She's medicated. She's whatever. And I'm thinking the whole time, did that deal inspire the backstory with Ivanova's mom?
Oh.
And where Ivanova, her mom was medicated by Psychor and was just kind of drugged she loved her mom. JMS certainly had his own relationship with his mom, but still it's his mom. Like, I wonder, did that was that a tie over, to place that particular piece of the story in.
I love that. I think what's neat about it too is, one of the things that we do in modern therapy with trauma is, you go back to the memory and you retell the story, sometimes with psilocybin or ketamine and sometimes other less hallucinogenic stuff. But I wonder if he almost did that where, like, because the mom came back and was drugged and numbed and whatever, and trigger warning, going to talk about self-harm, so skip ahead if you don't. But I wonder if he was like, she would have been better off if she just did what, I'm going to rewrite this with Ivanova's mom and have her, take her own life, because I feel like that would have been better.
Yeah.
Almost therapeutic for him. I think a thing that stood out really clearly to me was all of the specifically Night Watch stuff and his dad and the Nazis.
Oh, I didn't put those two together. Yeah, that's great.
I was surprised. I don't know if surprised is the right word, but it was alarming to me just how deeply embedded into Nazism his family was. And I didn't do that math, right? Because I think in our more modern view of history, we don't think of anyone Russian being at all, they were the enemies of the Nazis, but like, there's so much overlap and stuff in there. And
yeah,
I felt like a lot of that was him telling that story.
There, the whole idea of Psy-Corps, but not just Psy-Corps, the President Clark regime. We talk a lot about fascist. Sheridan at one point even says "fascist are us." And all of the Night Watch and all that kind of stuff. For JMS to be as intimately connected with that, seeing that in his family and having to live in it, and his dad even making him play dress up at one point.
Wear the stuff.
Yeah. And he's like, and he says, salute and hold your hand up and the Nazi salute and all that sort of stuff. And, he's just like, whatever, like, yeah.
But it's all part of it.
Right. I think one of the other pieces I picked up on, let me stick with the Ivanova theme for just a moment.
Okay.
Later he talks about writing Real Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
And in the second season, they hired a consultant to come in and basically wanted to change everything. And he wanted to basically tame down. He wanted to just do with Janine Melnitz and make her just this soft, gushy bluch of a character, where they had really built her up to be this just sort of like badass, like way more cool than what she was in the movies. Maybe even when we saw a little bit of her in the new films. Yeah. I wonder how much of that inspired the character of Takashima and Ivanova specifically, because those both being that female first officer, like both of them are pretty badass. Ivanova is my favorite character in the whole show for a reason. And it's because she looks, Ivanova is God. Just kidding. Like, yeah, I will listen to Ivanova. If I want to do anything that Ivanova doesn't say to do, I will not do it. Like whatever that whole spiel is, like, I wonder how much of that carried over for him from Janine into his writing of Ivanova.
Yeah, I like that. I thought that, I think throughout, when we were watching Crusade, I talked about near the end how Max Eilerson was kind of an avatar of his, because, in that last episode that we watched of his, there was some stuff that we pulled out of the book, but I think there's a lot of those pieces where he literally puts himself into the show. And I think that when G'Kar got jailed and started writing the book of G'Kar became him. Writing became his escape, his solace, his solitude, his everything. And that's so much of the story. Once JMS discovered writing, that was his home. You know, wherever he was, that's where he was safe and he was powerful. And he wrote that I feel like he wrote that directly into the character of G'Kar. It was transformative, I think, in ways for JMS as he learned more about himself and really dove into himself and was able to write more honest and vulnerable things. And we saw that mirrored in G'Kar's story as well. Even like when dude was questioning him, but back here you said this and now you're saying this. And G'Kar's like, yeah, because things change and we learn more. That's what so much of JMS's stuff has been.
Right. Speaking of his writing, talk about impacting how he wrote Babylon 5. Because we know that he got right in the middle of season 2 and was just like, I'm going to take over all of the writing responsibilities. He did every episode from there on out except for that 1-0 game in episode in season 5. And from what we've learned, what you and I have heard, or at least I know what I've heard, I don't know how much you've heard, of how the production worked on Babylon 5. They kept good hours. They went home for dinner at night. They didn't play over on the weekends. They didn't have overtime. They didn't run 16, 17, 18, 20-hour days. They didn't do all that stuff. Like but it was a machine. They had to crank these things out. And it's one man who, you know, I think he said in the book at one point, in any given time, he's working on like 4 or 5 episodes all at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, which is nuts. But to speak to that work ethic, he goes back to his time as a journalist at the Daily Aztec, I believe was the name of the paper. And his whole thing was just get the damn thing done. Just get it done and have it in. Just get it done. Whatever it takes for you to get it done, just get it done. Which, by the way, is such like a Gen X type of attitude with stuff. You know, really like, dude, just get out of my way. I'll take care of it. It's fine. I got it. I'm going to get it done. I'll just take it. Need my kid to get that attitude. Like, just get it done. You don't need everybody to help you. Anyway.
We have a couple generations that can use that, but that's just old man Akin talking. So
get off my lawn. But anyway, that had to have impacted how he, not just Babylon 5, it's how he's written everything since then, but specifically Babylon 5 and how he approached that.
I loved how he talked about that, where he's like, people told me that I shouldn't have done that. Like, you can't do that, but I did because I didn't know you couldn't do it.
Right.
It would have been nice to have known that. One thing that I pulled out, that it's little or whatever, but I couldn't get it out of my head. When he was in college, he worked with a guy named Norman Corwin quite a bit. Norman Corwin was a real influence in his early days. He got blacklisted in the whole McCarthyism stuff and whatever. But our favorite dude on the bridge, David Corwin, was that his little homage for him?
There you go. Nice pull. I didn't even catch that. Nice pull. I like that. Speaking of his writing piece, one of the things, and I would like to say that I have picked this up from JMS, and I really appreciate this. He gave me these words, and it pisses me off when writers don't use this, but he talked about playing fair with the audience.
Yes.
And he learned that from Jerry Taylor when they were doing Murder, She Wrote. And I love that came specifically from Jerry Taylor, who also was an executive producer, showrunner, writer, and creator of another sci-fi show that we all know and love. But we're not talking about that because this isn't that show. This is all about becoming Superman and JMS. So, but I love that he got that, that we learned the origin of that for him, but also the person that gave that to him in being in Jerry Taylor.
It was really neat that just their entire experience together. I really had a lot of interest in the Murder, She Wrote period of time for him. I always felt like, that was one of the jobs he had, that Jake and the Fat Man, whatever. But it was so formative, I think, for him in a lot of ways that just showed him the dirty side of how TV works, and was really able to show, like, it was an opportunity for him to really angle into show running, where he's like, you're an author and you should show up this way, and we're going to change the show, and this is how we're going to do it. I just found it really the development for him in that show. And I was also fascinated that apparently Angela Lansbury's got a dirty side to her.
You know, here's the thing though, like
Not so much, but
well, I love the way that JMS handled that whole situation in his autobiography, because he's like, look, she comes into season 7, I think it was season 7, and she's Angela effing Lansbury. She is the show. She knows that she's the show, and she wants more control of the show. I think that is normal for anyone who's in that sort of a situation. And I really feel like JMS, when he was writing it, as turns out, it didn't work out very well. It was not a good move. Let's just say that. Taking it away from JMS was not a good move. You know, cornering him into this little thing was not what they really wanted to do. But he really spoke very respectfully of Angela and her family in that. I was like, I get what they were doing. I shouldn't have done it, but I get what they were doing, and I can't blame them for doing it. Also, it was just a bad move on her part.
Yeah.
Because that show could have gone on way more seasons.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
Had so much more to it.
Yeah.
One of the last ones that I had, and I don't want to talk too much about it because it kind of transitions into the messages piece, but this was such a theme for both his life and for Babylon 5. But every time you get beat down, just get back up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sheridan specifically said that. You can knock me down however many times. All I have to do is get up one more time. One more time, then you can knock me down.
I feel like that whole Intersections in Real Time really was in a big way that time that he basically got beat to death.
Yeah.
On the streets, because he refused to die.
Yeah.
And then he was able to tell that story with Sheridan where I refuse to stop and to give up into everything you're saying.
But he wasn't fighting back. He was just taking the beating.
And getting back up.
And let's go for more beating. And you'll eventually stop. And I'll still
And that's what JMS did, right?
Yeah.
You know, I got beat down, I almost died. I'm never gonna find those guys. There's never gonna be justice in the sense of like me catching them and seeing them get punished. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn this into a story, and I'm going to tell it to the world, and I'm going to entertain people with it and hopefully educate them too. He was 2 inches taller when he stood up from that one.
There you go. I think one of the things that kind of stood out to me, you know, we talk a lot of times about how 90s sci-fi, specifically that other show, and this show now really set the stage for the modernized serialized television that we get.
Yeah.
Right. But really, this Babylon 5 would not have been serialized had it not been for what he did with Captain Power.
That's right. Yeah.
Like that was a much smaller microcosm of what he had going on, but because he was able to do it there, he's like, I can take this and actually do a whole thing with this. So, you know, one wouldn't have existed without the other, which I think is pretty phenomenal listening to that. Like,
I think that's so much of his
evolution.
career is just, you know, I did this thing, which built and led to this thing, which built and led to this thing.
Yeah. A bunch of years ago, and this is completely off topic, but it relates, and I'll bring it back in just a moment. I did a watch through of all the Marvel movies, and not just the MCU, but like the old X-Men and the old Spider-Man and the, you know, like those old movies, like from the 90s all the way up through the MCU. And I didn't realize Kevin Feige has been involved in these films for a very long time.
Really?
And by the time he got to the point of being an executive producer or whatever on that, now he wasn't the top guy, but he's a part of it. They started doing those end credit scenes that the MCU is so famous for. And they actually started that like back in like the X-Men films and stuff. And you can see how those little seeds made way for what, once he became the guy in charge of the MCU, like this is the hallmark, this is the calling card of what a Kevin Feige ran studio does, you know. Kind of the same thing. Like you can see these pieces falling into place that when JMS finally gets his hands on Babylon 5 to be able to run it the way he wants to run it, here's where these pieces are coming from. It's very interesting to me.
It is, yeah.
One of the things, now this, I don't know why this struck me as news, but this is him specifically talking about Babylon 5. He intentionally set up for the people at the beginning of the show who were good and the people who were beginning of the show were bad, that basically they'd flip places by the end of the show.
Yeah.
And he intentionally, well, let me back that up. Do you remember when we first started watching The Gathering, right? And we're looking at this monstrous, evil Jakar, who clearly this is the warrior alien. And I mean, these are the Klingons of this show. Like this is going to be the bad guy. Like that's who this is. They're just, ugh. Yeah. And then you have Londo as just the sort of almost buffoon of the whole thing. He actually intentionally set us up to believe that Jakar was a bad guy. Not just this is where they're going to start, but like, no, I'm going to set you up to truly believe this and string you along with this. Not here's just an episode and actually this is how he is the whole time. Like, no, he set us up to believe that that's where he was going to go. Like,
yeah,
I was like, oh, you bastard.
How dare you be brilliant and do this almost flawlessly.
Right.
And the only reason it wasn't flawlessly is because like people left the show or things happened, and still pretty darn flawlessly in putting that all together.
I had two more.
Okay.
Just out of this, if I don't know where you are on that. But these last two actually kind of go hand in hand. Jerry Doyle, in regards to him and everything that happened with him, and obviously Jeff Conway as well. Garibaldi, what did not just happen to be a recovering alcoholic as a character.
Oh yeah.
Like JMS wrote that into Garibaldi's backstory because of Jerry Doyle, and the idea that what he was doing with that was like Jerry Doyle wasn't a guy who necessarily was in recovery like we had just assumed.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was an active alcoholic, I guess, during this time, if I understood the story right. Right.
That's what I got out of it. Yeah.
And JMS would write these things to force Jerry Doyle to have these words come out of his mouth.
It's like he was writing at Jerry Doyle.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I love about that though?
What's that?
Is it was a 5th season episode. I forget which one, but where Garibaldi and Zach are having the addiction talk to each other. That reframes that whole scene. We commented on it when it happened. That was remarkable with these two people, but like that was fully intentional for him to be
on
like,
both
here,
sides.
Yeah, you two that are in trouble, say these things
to each other. Go. Yeah.
It's like he's literally, and it's what's so great about that is it made great TV, but he made great TV in the attempt to improve the lives of the people he was working with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And he did it. And like, you really get the sense, at least hearing his side of the story, he wasn't doing it judgmentally.
No,
he was doing it from a place of love and care.
He wanted to help.
Yeah. But the other thing about that, and you and I talked about this when it happened, that little moment at the very end of the show, and I think it was maybe in Objects at Rest. Maybe, I don't think it was Sleeping in Light. It wasn't Sleeping in Light. It was Objects at Rest. Maybe Objects in Motion. Garibaldi is leaving. Mm-hmm. And the last thing he does as he's leaving the station is he reaches over and he takes a little shot glass.
I remember that.
And you and I are like, whoa, what was all that? That was Jerry Doyle in an unscripted moment, kind of giving JMS an FU for all of these things that he put into the script for him over the 5 years. Yeah. Like, wow. And they left it in the show.
They left it in. He's just like, cool. Which I think just speaks to the altruism in which he did everything. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to drive the point home. Like, I'd put the words in your mouth and I showed you this stuff hoping to help you. Apparently I didn't. So fine. I got mine in. You can get yours in.
You know, I teach my kid all the time. Like, listen, it's great. You want to help your friends. You want to help them be where they're supposed to be. Like, you're on the ball field and somebody's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's great. You want to help them. You're also not the coach. So tell them one time, and then if they don't do it, that's on them. But you can't keep badgering them to do what you're trying to do here.
Yeah. What else did you have?
Well, I'm done. And Jeff, I want to do something we don't normally do.
Okay.
Because this is such a good insight. We have our council chambers with us tonight.
We do, yeah.
Who are watching. And our friend Dylan, yes, that is her name, had an observation. And we have to talk about it right now.
Okay.
I'm going to pot it up. The part that Dylan says, the part that got me was his dad, meaning JMS, his dad beating him and him refusing to cry out. And you cannot watch G'Kar getting whipped without seeing JMS in his place. And even more so when it happens to Londo.
Wow.
Phenomenal insight there, Dylan. Phenomenal.
I literally have goosebumps from it.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, that's so powerful.
Yeah. Talk about stuff from his life working its way into Babylon 5.
And I love that too, because that was an act of defiance for him to do that. It was the one silent thing he could do to be like, you won't beat me down. But that was done in him, right? That was a private in him thing to feel good. And he was able to express that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just magical and able to show it in a way, in a story, I'll say one of the most powerful scenes in all of Babylon 5, both G'Kar and Londo's versions that happened. And like, he was able to turn that just horrifying experience into this two powerful moments.
Yeah.
In the series. That's amazing.
Yeah. Great insight.
It's almost like it's almost an opportunity for him to almost pat himself on the back. Like, hey, Joe. Yeah, Joe, what's up? I'm really proud of you for that thing you did way back when you were a kid and awful stuff was happening to you. Oh, thanks. It was really hard to do, and it took a lot of courage on my part. Yeah, Joe, I see that. I'm going to put it in my show. It's awesome.
It's phenomenal. Yeah.
So it's messages time, yeah?
You want to do messages first, or you want to answer the question?
I think we answer the question we go out on that.
Okay, great. I love it. Yeah, messages. Oh my gosh. Okay. Listen, JMS, if you're watching this or you're listening to this,
we're sorry.
Yeah. Please feel free to write us and tell us how completely far off we are on this. However, I can't speak to Jeff. I don't know. I haven't looked at his notes. Everything I have here is what you wrote. So yeah. These are, there's so much more about his life that we could dive into, but we'd be here for weeks if that was the case. So yeah, these messages, Jeff, gosh, these messages. And some of these are just, hey, here's this message and here's this message. And like, there's not like a thread. This is not a sermon that is neatly put together with 3 points in a poem. Like, well, these are just the things pulled together from his life.
So I'm going to agree and disagree. And it's a thing we kind of talked about a little bit, but I think there's that stuff that are this here. But I think there is the put together sermon, as it were.
Is it about the Becoming Superman title?
No, it's actually a thing that bounces into the show. Like, it's an echo of, here's the thing that made it into the show that literally is the play-by-play of this book.
Oh,
for the message. Okay. But we can get to that after we talk about all the boom, 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 boom stuff that came up.
Yeah. By the way, just because we're not going to comment on this at any other point, and I think we'd be remiss to not. His whole couching his entire story in the idea of what it meant to become Superman was brilliant, of how he put his life journey together. And the way, like, I don't want to dive into that, but just acknowledge, like, phenomenal, like really, really good stuff. And
just the storytelling prowess of that.
I'm not a great comic book guy. Like, I don't read a ton of comic books. It made me go get his Superman Earth 1. Is that what it's called? Yeah. Superman Earth 1 series and read through it. Like, so good. So good. Anyway. You want to go first? What are some of the messages you pulled out there, Jeff?
Well, there's a little one that I got out of the book. It's from one of the pictures that was really powerful for me. But just the idea that from small beginnings, truly wonderful things can grow. And in there, he had the check from the first thing he ever sold for $15.
Right.
And then he had a picture of the first $1 million check
Right.
that he got. And I just, like, if there's any message that plays through, it really is that whole, like, stick to it. If you're doing the thing that is your thing, keep doing your thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, so the words he uses there, and you can correct me if I'm wrong if I'm pulling it out there, because I had this one written down. Stick to your art. Hold fast to what you believe is true and honest and just, and things generally work out in the end. But when they don't, that knowledge can be a cold comfort. Like, just hold fast to it, you know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. This one comes from I got one. It comes from his story about the real Ghostbusters and deciding whether or not he wants to take on that project. And he asked this question: what if I fail? So what if I fail? What's the worst that could happen? Yes, it will be embarrassing if you fail, but risking failure is necessary. So embrace the nightmare and get this goddamn thing up and on the rails.
Yes.
You know, I love that. That is, this might be a reason why I connect with JMS, because this is a personal life philosophy that I'm like, and I remember where I got mine from. I told you the story before about the zip line.
Yes. Yeah.
So short for folks who haven't heard it, there was a time, Brent's a big guy. You should not put me up on a string and say, go flying down this string. Okay. You just shouldn't do it. But some folks did that one day, and I'm sitting up there I'm at a camp, a bunch of kids and everything. And I was like their counselor, and I'm freaked out of my gourd. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. And they're like, no, you're going to be perfectly safe. It's fine. I'm like, no. And I remember sitting there, and I had a moment of clarity where I said, okay, if I jump off this, what's the worst that's going to happen? The thing could snap, and it's not that I would fall and die, because then I'm dead. That's fine. I'm good. I know where I'm going. It's good. It's that I would be a paraplegic. That was my greatest fear, that I would live, but I would be a paraplegic for the rest of my life. And then I had this thought. So that happens. What does that change about me as a person? Nothing. Okay, let's go. Like, it's that, just, yes, the worst that could happen. And yes, it will be embarrassing. And yeah, there's some bad stuff. But that's a part of it. Like, let's embrace it. Let's just go get the damn thing done. You know? Love
and
it.
You loved that zip line was fun. You enjoyed it, right? Like, it was great and horrifying. But.
What I really loved, and because I will never be able to do this again in the rest of my life, where they put the harness on me is a little lower, which made me naturally top heavy. So, but the pivot point was lower for me. So when I went down, I wound up flipping upside down like Spider-Man. And so I'm flying down this zip line upside down, and I put my feet on the rope that was holding me to the thing. And I went down like Spider-Man because, you know, not because I was trying to be cool, but like gravity just did its thing. And I was trying to look cool despite gravity. So
I love it though. It's
it was
so
fun.
cool.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And I went like a couple more times, and I should never do that again because, but yeah.
And you would have never done that.
Right.
One of the things is almost similar, but stick to your values. He encapsulated this in terms of Superman, right? You know, Superman would go to extreme lengths to not kill somebody or not, stop someone from getting hurt. But he also talked about where he did that, and the times that seem innocuous to someone who doesn't necessarily understand Hollywood and those things. But when they made the changes to Real Ghostbusters, or they made changes to other shows, and he's like, you know what, I can't do this. I'm out. I'm out of here. Or when he stood up for other people, be it actors on the show or whatever, but he was never afraid to put himself at risk to help others because that was what he believed in. That's what was important to him. I thought the really cool message from this was just, stick to your values. What matters to you? Which ties well with the failure thing. I'm going to stick to my values, which means I'm going to fail.
Right.
And what's the worst that could happen?
Right.
Worst case, I stuck to my values and I've got my integrity.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too bad.
I love this one. This kind of goes back to the college class one, but also work and everything else in his life. Never let people tell you that you can't do it. Okay, so I can't do it. Let's find out.
Yeah.
Let's try. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong. I don't know. But I'm not going to let you tell me, you know?
I think that pairs great with him writing, holding the record in the Writers Guild of America of most consecutive episodes written with Babylon 5, where he's like, yeah, I didn't know you couldn't do this, so I just did it.
Right. Yeah. I was too stupid to know that it couldn't be done.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, like how many things in our lives have we not done because someone told us we couldn't?
Yeah.
It's sad, really, And I mean, yeah, he got carpal tunnel syndrome and spent time in the hospital and his family life fell apart and everything, but he did the thing. Like he did it.
I don't know. I would almost argue that his family life improved.
Ultimately it did, but in the moment, like
it was hard. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. It exposed the things to be improved.
There you go. Yeah.
Which by the way, I'm sorry. By the way, I love how his relationship with his now ex-wife turned out.
Yeah.
Like, talk about hope for a future and that things, you know what I mean? Like that is, and he is still keeping his promises to her.
Just taking care of her.
Yeah. Like, listen, I'm not gonna be married to you. You need to be free to go do that whole thing over there. But I made you a promise and I still care about you. Dare say I still love you. And I'm going to keep that promise. That's so much respect for the man right there. So much respect.
And again, Max Eilerson in that last episode. Of
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
I still hate that Max Eilerson is his avatar, but he is.
That recolors that whole episode for me now just in this moment right here.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that's so good.
It's huge. But you said a thing just now though that I think was great because in that marriage he had Catherine, was that her name? His wife,
something like that.
Yeah. Like their relationship has been interesting from go. Like he talked for a while. He's like, well, I guess we might as well get married because we kind of are. It's like, well, let's just do this. But when he went to her and asked for the separation, there wasn't a fight. There was no whatever. She's like, yeah, I see that too. Let's talk about it like adults and let's do this thing. And, they've maintained such a great relationship. But the thing you said that stood out was that pressure cooker of him doing Babylon 5 really exposed a lot of those problems. And I think for people whose relationships have ended, or changed, as they've gone, you can look at those moments of like, that sucks and I'm so mad at that person because of this. But the reality is that thing just exposed what was already wrong there in the first place.
Yeah.
It's already there. And the path is often painful, but where you end up is where it's a better place to be. It just happens that with JMS and Catherine, they were wildly respectful and loving to each other through all of that, which is amazing.
Well said, Jeff.
Thank you.
Well said.
I think a lot of it ties to one of the other messages I got.
Yeah.
Take care of your mental health.
Yeah.
Depression, other untreated and undiagnosed things not only can cause health issues for you, but have intergenerational impacts. His mom tried to kill him because she was horribly depressed. And not only was it not acknowledged or treated, but was just exacerbated every single day by that person that might be his dad. So take care of yourself.
I got one. This is kind of along those same lines of what I said about, just risk the failure and go do this thing. Find what you're afraid of and do that thing.
And just do it.
Just do it. Find what you're afraid of and go do it. Like that's how you get over it. I've got a couple here and they kind of all fit together in a similar category. So if I can kind of go through these, if you don't mind. but these are all basically lessons he learned, particularly from his father, about how to treat other people, how to be a better human being to others, right? But he says this. He says on his dad, he's like Dent, my father blamed outside circumstances for what he became. Whereas I leaned into the idea that we can choose another path. Let me say that again. We can choose another path. Every time he said, I have no choice, they made a choice. They just didn't want to admit it. You know, Jeff, I don't think I've often talked about my biological father here. He was a man who, without going into too terribly much, he was a guy who was always a victim. And I read a lot of JMS's father into my own father on that aspect. Mm-hmm. My biological father was not abusive. He was not JMS's dad. Okay. I want to make that clear, but this attitude, the driving force behind a lot of them, those two men were very similar. It just played out in very different ways, but there's a lot that I saw there. But for me, there is a lot of the reason why I think I am the way I am is because of who he was and how he's been. That I don't play the victim. Stuff doesn't happen to me. I happen to it. That's my whole tattoo is about that whole thing. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I love that. I leaned into the idea we can choose another path, not because of that. And then he goes on to say, he says, you can break the cycle by refusing to do to others what was done to you.
Boom.
You know, okay, let's take this whole thing and reword it just a little bit, somewhat more familiar. Do to others what you want them to do to you. Don't do to others what others have done to you. Yeah. Do to them what you want them to do to you. It's not what they have already done to you. Like,
what's so wild about that?
Yeah.
We talked in a recent episode about, you know, if you want to change other people, you have to first change yourself. And that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
But another thing we've talked about a lot is the difference between justice and vengeance, and how a modern interpretation of justice is vengeance. Yeah. When really, Brett, I think doing that in the face of someone doing awful things to you and you doing good things back, not doing that's justice.
Yeah.
Right. It's not doing back to them what they did, because that's what our justice system does now. Oh, you hurt that person? Okay, we're going to hurt you. Mm-hmm. That doesn't help. How's that worked out for us? You know, so you're exactly right. Do to them as you would want done to you, regardless of what they've done.
And you don't have permission to go be a certain way because that's how other people have been to you. There's a great phrase, and I love this. And great phrase. This is a very apropos descriptive phrase of how humanity tends to be. It's hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
You know, like people who have been hurt hurt other people. Hurt people hurt people. And you can choose not to continue that.
What I love about that too, because what neither of us is saying is lay back and take it. You know, and I think JMS's story with his dad is that, where he ultimately showed up and, left and did the whole thing and whatever, but he was a hurt person who saw he was a hurt person, who wanted to hurt someone because he was a hurt person, and in a Herculean feat chose not to.
Yeah.
And that changed the path for his entire family.
Mm-hmm. All right. One more that's in this vein. All right. He says this, you don't have to become what you've experienced. You could have chosen another way. To say that I have no choice is the worst kind of cowardice, because you think it gives you license to hurt other people and then hide behind your past where you think no one can touch you.
Well, I feel like he put those words to an effect in Lady Morella when she was talking with Londo and Veer. People who say they have no choice are weak people defending decisions they've already made.
And here's the thing. Think about that. He wrote that for Lady Morella back in 1995, something like that.
Yeah.
He wrote Becoming Superman in 2017, 17, 18, something like that. Published in 19, I think it was. Yow.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's carried that one with him a long time.
It's a good one. I had one that's really a riff on that also, where he just said, we have no control over who beats us up or knocks us down or the obstacles that stand between us and our dreams, but we have absolute control over how we choose to respond.
Yes. Yes. Say to the kids all the time. I'm referencing my kids a lot here, but you know what? Because I feel like sitting and reading this book was like listening to my dad, or at least the guy that I would have wanted to be. No, you know who it was? It's like sitting and listening to my rabbi.
Oh, okay.
You know, you remember Tico was like, man, I want a rabbi. I want a guy who's going to interfere in my life. I want a guy who's going to come by and tell me what's what, you know, like
Rabbi
yes.
Straczynski.
Right. Like this is, no, I love that. Yeah. Listen, the only thing that you can control is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control all the other stuff. You can only control you. So control you.
Just do it.
Yeah. Control you. Stop letting other people affect you like that. I don't know. I don't know how to tell you not to. Like, just don't. Okay, I've got one more, and again, this is two separate ones that are very much the exact same thing. So let me read them both, and we talk about them if you don't mind.
Okay.
And this, frankly, Jeff, this is the one that to me encapsulates everything, and it encapsulates the entirety of Babylon 5, which is why I saved this one for my last one. We are better together than we are apart. Despite our divergent cultures, we are more alike than we are different. Can we please, somebody, go put that on a plaque and stick it up in the halls of Congress? Please. I don't know about all the other countries out there, but I know in our own damn country right here, my God, can we please put that on our walls? We are more alike than we are different. We are better together than we are apart. And he says this, and oh my God, I hope he crafted this. I hope this took him forever to craft it, and he didn't just roll this off. Despite being factionalized, tribalized, and marginalized within an inch of our lives, there is something in the human spirit that longs for connection, for connectivity. What's the phrase, Jeff? We had it for our entire season 5 intro. Humans build communities.
That's right. Our strength is diversity.
Now get the hell out of our
galaxy.
But my God, Jeff, I mean, if when you boil all of Babylon 5 down, we're better together than we are apart.
Yep.
And despite constantly being torn apart, we just want to be together.
I pulled that quote for the opening for this episode from one of the interviews he did, because he literally in the interview said, this is the message I want to share. Everything I have done is this. We are better together than we are apart, and we are better than we think, and we're nobler than we know. Boom.
Hope for the future. Being better human beings. And frankly, a mirror to society. The man hits all 3 of our litmus tests on this one.
He was doing Star Trek messages before they were Star Trek.
You said the word. You said it. Oh.
Was that the 2 you had to put together?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'd want about, listen to your inner voice and put yourself out of your comfort zone, all that stuff. But before we came on mic, we talked about a little monologue that occurred near the end of the series that really encapsulated this whole book. Right. So picture, if you will, scene, a tired, eager, on the cusp of change, John Sheridan, sitting in a dark room saying into a recorder, "So I give you what little wisdom I have." Says that Delenn is the greatest ally you will ever have. Her depths of courage and compassion are unmatched. But here we get to the great stuff. if you ever have any doubt, talk to her. She will never judge you. She will only love you. And he goes on to say, from time to time, you will make mistakes. They're inevitable. Sometimes those mistakes will be huge. What matters is that you learn from them. There's nothing wrong with falling down so long as you end up just 2 inches taller when you pick yourself up off the floor. At times, you may end up far away from home. You may not be sure where you belong anymore. But home is always there. Because home is not a place. It's wherever your passion takes you. As you continue on your path, you will lose some friends and gain new ones. The process is painful, but often necessary. They'll change and you'll change because life is change. From time to time, they must find their own way, and that way may not be yours. Enjoy them for what they are, and remember them for what they were. There's not much left, except I really do believe that sooner or later, no matter what happens, things do work out. Oh, we have hard times. We suffer. We lose loved ones. That road is never easy. It was never meant to be easy. Here it is. But in the long run, if you stay true to what you believe, things do work out. Always be willing to fight for what you believe in. It doesn't matter if 1,000 people agree with you or one person agrees with you. It doesn't matter if you stand completely alone. Fight for what you believe. Which brings me to the first piece of advice my dad ever gave me, and now I'm giving it to you. Never start a fight, but always finish it. Brent, that is becoming Superman.
Jeff, stop me if you've heard this one before.
Okay.
Let's rewind all the way back to when we did our episode on objects at rest, which this speech comes from. You know, Jeff, I feel like this whole speech that Sheridan delivers at the end of the show is all of what JMS has been trying to say through all of Babylon 5 encapsulated in a 3-minute monologue.
Yep.
Literally what it is.
Literally.
And I'm sorry I didn't jump in on the never start a fight and always finish
I paused.
I heard you do it and I was like, oh, right as I did it, you started. I was like, oh, shoot, I missed it. Sorry.
We have our council chambers with us here. They get to join us for our recordings. It's a thing that they get to do. And they're sharing some of their messages that they pulled out of the book. Is it cool? Can we pull some of those up now?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that.
I like this one from Fabio. I like all of them, but I just saw this one. Right is right, even if no one is doing it. And wrong is wrong, even if everyone is doing it.
So good. So good. So good. And Fabio continues with another one. If it can be destroyed by the truth, it deserves to be destroyed by the truth.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it.
From Katerina. Singular truth and the singular rule, we must be kind to one another.
Absolutely.
Because, as Delenn says, we are one. Actually, Jakar said that. But
Stardust. Right. And Fabio has one more. Fear is the mind killer. Depression is the mind filler. Not in a good way.
It is the little death that passes through me.
Good stuff, guys. Jeff, this is why, we have our complete definitive everything that we do here. But there are still things that other people find that you and I don't.
Exactly.
So, although we are complete and definitive.
We are complete and definitive. But, the extra stuff is nice. It's helpful.
Yeah. No, good job. Hey, council chambers, you guys. That's why we love having you guys here.
You rock. So, Brent, we've been doing this for over 2.5 years. Has been our journey through Babylon 5.
That's crazy.
Wild.
That's
We spent this time analyzing its messages like we did, and we never compared it to Star Trek.
No,
because this is not a Star Trek podcast.
Right. Never has been.
Never was. But the fact that we've done those analyses and that we've never compared it to Star Trek, it uniquely qualifies us to definitively answer the ages-old question. Brent, did Star Trek rip off Babylon 5?
You know, admittedly, when you and I first started this show, now I'm speaking for me, I'm not speaking for you here. A big reason why I wanted to watch this show was because I heard that that my beloved Star Trek ripped off this other show. That couldn't be true, not my show. So let's go see if they really did or not. And you and I came in and we watched with a very skeptical eye as to whether or not our beloved show ever ripped it off. But JMS had a lot to say on the topic.
He did.
In his book. And I think over time, I've seen some other interviews, have heard his side of things, heard where things are. Here's where I say we are.
Okay.
Here's where I say we are. Lots of clarity on whether or not Deep Space Nine ripped off Babylon 5. My answer is no. Star Trek did not rip off Babylon 5.
Okay.
Paramount ripped off Babylon 5. And they did so trying to tank another new network. And they pulled these pieces in and they fed this to the show creators. And as far as Star Trek's role, I think the furthest it might have got was the very top.
Yeah.
Knowing what we know about Rick Berman, the guy who was in charge of Star Trek back in the 90s, it wouldn't shock me if he knew.
Dude was a piece of work.
Yeah. Wouldn't shock me if he knew.
I don't know him, but I would understand that. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. I don't know. Was Michael Piller, who was also the creator, one of the co-creators of Deep Space Nine, was he aware as well? Gosh, Michael Piller was such a good guy. I really hope not. You know what I mean? Like, he was such a good guy. But I could see them being aware of it. But the people who actually were running Deep Space Nine, Ira Stephen Bear, Ronald D. Moore, all of those folks, Robert Hewitt Wolf, they were not. They got notes from the studio that were fed to them, you know. I still stand by. I think there were pot shots they were taking at each other. Hey, you're I think pulling the name of Dukat and making that the villain of the show when he was this venerated character over here, like, that seems very intentional to me. Taking the name of Lita, who's supposed to be this, the telepath and, a girl on her own journey, and turning her into a prostitute effectively. Yeah. I feel like there might've been some of that, those things, but outside of that, just the basic structure. But I think more than anything else, it was meant to tank the show. It was meant, they did it to, nobody else can stand on our ground. We own sci-fi. We own space. And I think they were really trying to tank the show. And yeah, I think that is guilty as charged to Paramount.
Okay.
What do you think?
So my first thought was we have to, and you touched on it, we have to define what Star Trek is.
Mm-hmm.
And is it the suits? Is it the writers? Is it the show? Is it the whatever? And I agree. If Paramount, Viacom, CBS, whatever iteration it's been in over the years, 100% they ripped it off. I think no question. But I think the Star Trek itself did not. The creators of the show, the things like that. And I think the motivation was more around the network than it was the show specifically. Here's this upstart, thing. Oh, you can bring a bunch of Warner Brothers stuff together and we'll show you happen to have a thing that is our wheelhouse, and so we'll crush it. But I think some of the arguments we hear frequently are the ones you brought up, right? Dukat, and he's the villain, and Lita this. Well, I don't agree necessarily. Lita wasn't in it from go. Like, it wasn't until I think like the second or third season until Lita showed up.
Well, but she was in the character Bible and stuff, right?
I don't know that she was.
No? Okay. Fair enough.
I don't know. She might have been, but like, if I remember right, she was a later introduction to the show.
Okay.
And then with Dukat, 100% the studio was like, hey, here's the names you're going to use. And then they took it and ran, because there is no Dukat in B5 and Dukat in DS9 are not even almost the same people.
Jeff, no. In Deep Space Nine, it's Dukat.
Right.
In Babylon 5, It's Ducat.
It's Ducat.
Completely different. It's completely different. Not the same.
It's like Ducat and Ducat. Totally different. So, but yeah, absolutely. There may have been little pot shots back and forth. I would almost put more of those pot shots on Babylon 5, at least more blatantly. You know, what is this? Some deep space station?
Dude, those were great. Every
were
single
great.
one of those. As a Star Trek guy, I co-sign every single one of those 6.
100%.
Hilarious.
They were great. You're about to go where everybody's gone before.
Ah.
which was awesome. But yeah, I think definitively
Yeah.
Star Trek did not rip off Babylon 5. Paramount, Viacom, CBS did.
Yeah. Yeah. So here, let's nail down just a few of these. Was Paramount already looking, like, had they already decided to do a space station as the next show and this came up, or did they go, hey, we've got this guy over here wanting to do a space station show. Star Trek should now do a space station show.
I was at a convention. When was this? It was in the mid-90s. No, I was still in high school, so it was the early 90s. So maybe it was in production. I think it was like at a point, yeah, because I was like a junior or senior. I remember going with my mom. Marina Sirtis was there.
Yeah.
And they were talking about this new show that was in production, and they were excited that it was going to be on a space station. So I don't know. It was. I'm thinking it must have been 91 or 92.
Yeah.
That this happened. So I think they'd had the idea for the spinoff and had the idea to do something different, but I don't know that.
I mean, they were looking for a spinoff. Okay, well, what can you do that's different now? Honestly, it makes sense to go to a space station at that point.
It's a space station or a colony. Those are the two choices.
Yep. Yep. The idea of a female first officer.
So, I mean, yes, but also, like, is that so unbelievable that, like, because here's the thing that DS9 did, that B5 did. They had an alien female first officer. So I don't know. And maybe this is just totally my ignorance and naivete to say, like, I mean, it was a huge deal to have a female first officer, but it was such a big deal to have the idea and to do it. This is the show that made a black man the commander of the station.
Babylon 5 didn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Commander of the station being a religious, I mean, Sheridan wasn't really a religious icon.
Well, and when Babylon 5, the Bible stuff, Sinclair was the commander, and he wasn't ever going to be a religious thing. Like, they had a whole different arc for Sinclair.
Well, wasn't he? I mean, he was always going to go back and be Valen, right?
He was going to have a tie to Valen, not necessarily that he was going to be there, be him, but
yeah. That's
I don't know
something
that
have you done it? I haven't done the here's what would have happened if Michael O'Hara was able to stay with the show. And have
I
you
heard
done
one
that dive in yet? I haven't done.
Someone sent a thing to me that I read. I stopped reading, but read part of it. But it had something to do with underpopulation of Minbari, and basically Delenn and Sinclair having to somehow come together to be like, well, we have to come together to, you know, so the chrysalis thing and bring people together was part of like the way to keep the Minbari race alive.
Gotcha.
But
Anyway.
I missed a lot because I started reading. I'm like, I don't want to know any of this.
Right. Shapeshifter. I mean, they got the one changeling net thing in, and then Babylon 5 just dropped it. Like,
and changeling net, that's a piece of technology that Star Trek had done before with, you know, like, oh, I'm going to make myself look different, compared to an alien. It's an actual shapeshifter.
I get the feeling that the shape-shifting thing was supposed to be way more involved in Babylon 5, and it just got dropped because of what Star Trek was doing.
Well, maybe it got dropped because, like, it wasn't the best idea, like the gravity ring.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's hear, what are there other, because here's what we're agreed on. By the end, Babylon 5 and Deep Space Nine were two wildly disparate shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, I 100% think was ripped off was the Bureau 13 stuff.
Oh, you do?
Because that came well before Section 31 was a thought or whatever. And I will never forget watching that episode, and they said Bureau 13. I'm like, oh, shoot. They're right.
Shoot.
Oh, my God.
Right. I remember that.
That was pretty blatant. But Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitively, Star Trek did not rip off Babylon 5.
Paramount did.
Jerks, white jerk dudes in suits ripped off Babylon 5.
I'm with that.
There it is.
That's our definitive answer with that.
Objectively correct. Brent, that's it for Becoming Superman.
We're done?
We're done.
What? Okay, fine.
So next week, this is where we talk about what we're doing next week, and we used to make predictions or whatever. No prediction here. Brent, next week begins Babylon 5 for the second time. We've been waiting months for this moment.
Years, Jeff. We've been talking about Babylon 5 for the second time for years.
I think we started talking about it in like the late third season, I think. Like,
I think it was earlier than that. But
do you really?
You have a better memory about that stuff than I do, but I think it was earlier than that.
But it's been a long time. We've been waiting for this, but it starts next week.
So it's here. It's here. It's here. Let's go.
When you all tune in next week, you are going to get to experience our second viewing of The Gathering. So that's gonna come out, and then after that we'll be into the series, Midnight on the Firing Line, on and on and on.
And what's different, Jeff? Let's just say it right here for people who are like, why am I going to watch you? Why am I going to join you guys for a second watch of the show? What's different this time than what we were doing for the first watch?
I think what's super unique with Babylon 5 is everyone gets 2 first-time viewings that are entirely different. You get the first time that we just experienced of, oh my gosh, what is this? And holy crud, blah, blah. Oh, Londo was this, and now Londo's that. We get all that. What we get now is the viewing of, oh, I know what that's going to be. Ooh, they just said this thing, which is going to be this. It's like, it's going to be an entirely different experience for you and me and for everyone with us. Because now for the people that have watched this show, 8, 9, 47 times, they're like, oh, here's this, it's going to come up with this. We get to rediscover those seeds that were dropped, those things that we've forgotten in Soul Hunter and The Long Dark and all those things.
And I think we should fairly say, and Jeff, this is Brent writing for everything else, but we're going to do it live right here. We need to make sure that we say in every single episode, this is a spoiler warning, because as part of our discussion, by nature, we have to be able to talk about what comes before and what comes after.
Yeah.
Like, this will be a thank to everyone who helped keep Jeff and I spoiler free through the first watch.
Wow.
You guys are heroes. You're champions of this whole thing, because it was so hard. So hard. And you guys policed yourselves for us, for our sake. Phenomenal. Guess what, guys? We don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that anymore. All lids off. Stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Lids off. So we want it all. So I'm so excited for the second time, Jeff.
Me too, because it's going to happen right here next week, and we'll see you here with The Gathering. Thank you for joining us on our very first discussion of a book on this program, something wild and new. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up, a star, a rating, a review, whatever it is that it happens to be that your app of your choice lets you do. But now, today, at this moment is the time to please share this show with a friend of yours who has watched Babylon 5 again and wants to experience it for the second time, for the first time. Or if you didn't enjoy this, share it with an enemy who you want to force to listen to Brent and I talk about a show they hate and don't care about. Either way, we love it when you share the show. So until next week, we're going to wrap this bad
Jeff.
boy. Yeah, Brent, what's up?
Jeff, I have a question.
Okay.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Dude, that's Batman.
Jeff, all this time, didn't you know?
Didn't I know what?
I'm Batman.
Oh, man. That was fun, though. That was good.
Dude, hey, hour and 34. Wow.
That's at hour 15 on the over-under.
You did.
But to be fair, we had about 5 minutes of Patreon conversation before we went on mic, so we'll call it an hour 29.
Okay, still. Yeah, wow. Jeff, we're done. Like, the first is done. Like, wrapped.
We're not, don't say that yet. Please
There's
don't.
nothing more for us to do for the first time. Anyway. Hey, Council Chambers, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys for contributing to the show. You guys made the show better, which is really cool.
Big time.
I want to go back. I want to check in and see what these guys were talking about.
Let's just hit the big one first from Delenn here.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if I'm ready to answer this. Now that we've seen everything, which do we love more, Babylon 5 or Star Trek? How do you pick which kid you love more?
Well, here's what I'll say. And I'm going to apply this exact same thing to Babylon 5 and Star Trek. I love them both, but I love them differently.
Mm-hmm.
My children, I have a boy, I have a girl. I love them both, but I love them differently. I can't say I love one more than the other, but I love them differently. You know, my boy, he's my pride. You know, he's my legacy. He is all, like, I just want to see him go be him and succeed and win and just flourish into who he is. My girl, she's my precious. She's my precious, my precious. I feel that way. I think I feel that way about Babylon 5. I want to see succeed and just go be more than what it could ever be. But for Star Trek, Star Trek's still my precious. I still love Star Trek. You could also flip-flop those two. Babylon 5 is still very precious to me too.
You know what I think? I think for me,
Yeah.
if somebody came up to me and they're like, dude, Star Trek sucks and you're a nerd for liking it, I would be like, yeah, there's some pretty dumb stuff and I'm not a nerd. I'm actually super cool. So there you go.
Right.
But if someone came and said, dude, Babylon 5 sucks, I would punch them in the face. And that doesn't mean I love it more. It's just like, no, you can't. No, you can't. Star Trek has its own, Star Trek is going to be just fine, right? Like, it's just spent the better part of 7 years laying a mixed bag of eggs, as it were, and it's going to be just fine. Just fine. Babylon 5? No, you cannot touch. I've known about Babylon 5 now for 2.5 years, and I love it with all of my heart, and I will kill you if you ever try to hurt it.
Yep. Samesies.
Yeah.
So much so that when somebody looked at me and went, yeah, I tried getting into it, I just couldn't get into it. I said, no, let's work on this. Let's solve this problem.
Yes.
Because you're coming back. We're going to solve this problem. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Fabio makes a nice mention in the chat over here. Loves how Jeff mentions psilocybin more than Joe Rogan. Jeff, is there anything you want to tell us about over there? Huh?
I have a lot of psilocybin stories, and
Oh yeah, you do.
I'll just tell you this much: one, Oregon is a state where you can legally get psilocybin mushrooms, magic mushrooms, and I was part of the group that figured out the bureaucracy of how to make that happen. So I have a vested interest in how it goes. Also, have consumed psilocybin on a number of occasions and enjoy it tremendously.
Yes, you do. And
Yes.
I've gotten those follow-up text messages. Also, Jeff, it is time for us to say goodbye to our friend Fabio.
Oh, is he? Well, it is.
Well,
Yeah.
he said if the answer is not that Star Trek ripped off Babylon 5, he's unsubscribing right now.
Fabio's been
And you
great
and I
having
both
you.
said Star Trek did not rip off Babylon 5. Paramount did. And Fabio, you're amazing. You're awesome. Thanks for your time. And
Although
we
I'm
miss
going to
you.
use Fabio's own words in defense, semantics.
I love it. Oh my gosh, it went off. Hey, so just so we know, Jeff, my backlight over here has about an hour and 45-minute life on it.
Oh, it shut down. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it just went off. So if this starts looking weird over here, that's why. There were a
the
few
fun part
others.
where we look. Yeah.
Fabio says this to everybody out there who's watching. Come on to Patreon and enjoy this with us. That's right. If you want to find out how you can be a part of the live recording of this and hang out with Jeff and I through our council chambers, head over to Patreon and figure that out.
Katerina has a really great question, and I have an answer for this one.
Mhm.
She says, I'm curious how you guys would compare DS9 to BA5 if there's, so much of a similar feeling or story overall, because I hear a lot about Mass Effect comparisons, and apparently no one is mad about those. Here's the difference. All the people who made Mass Effect were straight up. Yeah, we ripped off Babylon 5, Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers, Star Wars. Like, there are so many interviews like, yeah, we pulled in all the sci-fi that we love so much, and we made it part of the thing.
But it's all homages. It's not necessarily ripping off.
Exactly. I mean, it's so obvious. Like in your playthrough, you'll get to see, like, it's a line by line recreation of a scene in Babylon 5.
Love it.
Oh my gosh.
Can't
and
wait
it's not
to
them
get there.
ripping it off. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
a little bit of a different
They're
thing.
treating it with honor and whatnot. The other one was designed to shut the other thing down.
Yeah. It was malicious.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's our precious start. Oh man, seriously.
It is. Oh man. Tall order here though from Delenn. I hope they like Soul Hunter on their second viewing for all the seeds and foreshadowing in it. I don't know.
The only seed in Soul Hunter that I can think of is that thing in the middle of his head. Katerina has some very nice words. Thank you guys so much. You have no idea, but going through this right now means so much for me. Thank you for loving B5 so much. Katerina, we love you, and we love Babylon 5, and thank you for joining us. And we do love Babylon 5. I love Babylon 5.
I love Babylon 5.
Yeah.
And I talk about this a lot because one of the cool things about this show is people have shared their origin stories with us for Babylon 5. And there are some incredible ones out there, but I think my favorite has been Katerina's. Like, I love it. And not only is it a great story, but when she wrote it out, it was just beautifully written. And so, like, forever in the annals of Babylon 5 for the first time, you're going to hold a very special place because it's such an incredible story. One, I won't say the name necessarily here, but someone else, thank you. I listened to this a lot during a very tough time too. As we record this and as you listen to this, we're at the end of 2024, the beginning of 2025. I was in a work meeting a little while ago, and I literally said, someone was like, well, hopefully 2025 is better than 2024. And I was like, well, if the world doesn't blow up, it pretty much will be. Like the bar is not set very high.
Yeah, Jeff, this last year for you especially, in many ways, and I'm not going to tell your story. That's yours to tell. But
someday
it's been
awful.
The people listening to us helps get through tough time. Tough times also happened here. Like, we're all and I say that just to say we're all in this together.
Exactly.
Like, this is a shared, yeah.
As much as listening helped get through stuff, doing this helped me get through tough times.
Yeah.
Being able to watch the show and do this stuff. But I will say, we've talked about a lot of the messages and stuff here. I used to refer to a lot of the stuff from, part of 2023 and then all of 2024 is like this horrible thing happened. This, all these horrible things. But I see it differently now. They're not horrible things. I like my life now, and I like who I'm, how I've been able to show up. So I now describe it as things that I didn't like happened to me, and it's allowed me to show up in ways that I'm proud of and whatever.
Yeah.
So they're not necessarily bad. I just didn't like them. Oh my God. So I'm going to read this one. It's so powerful, and I so appreciate it being shared. I'm going to protect the name. You can put in the chat if you're okay with me saying your name or not, but I want to be respectful. But Babylon 5 kept me alive. For many years, it was my sole reason for living as I struggled with gender dysphoria. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's so powerful.
I know this person's story. They've shared it with us, and a phenomenal story.
That's Delenn. Delenn shared that with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us share that.
There's and if I may, there's a reason why Delenn has taken the name Delenn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we're not just calling her that. Like, that's her name. you know, and it's phenomenal.
It is amazing, and what a powerful show, you know,
Phenomenal
to
person,
do that.
by the way.
And yeah, and like that bottom line. I think, you know, that's the thing. We talked about this. I've talked about it a couple of times, but like so many phenomenal people, you know, we're hanging out with some of them now. Some are watching after the fact, but just Babylon 5 attracts some really cool people, brings us together.
It's the best fan community I've ever been a part of. It
I
really
agree.
is. Really, it really is. All right, one final question, Jeff, and we'll get out of here for tonight because we're knocking on the door here. Katerina asks us, what is your feeling about the Star Trek portrayal in Big Bang Theory? I feel like it was the first big cultural reference that I encountered, but I don't feel like it did any justice.
Nerd confession.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I've barely watched The Big Bang Theory.
Jeff.
I've seen like, I don't know, 5-6 episodes. I watch it in hotel rooms when I'm traveling and it's like on.
Okay, well, Jeff is gone now. He just got fired from the show. No. I've seen every episode several times, actually. Several times, like a handful of it. That was must see TV for my wife and I for 10 years. And it was the only show back in the day. It was the first show I ever purchased because we cut the cable cord, and I purchased the season pass of that show every season because we'd still be able to watch that way. I know, you know, sometimes what's weird is sometimes it's not cool to like The Big Bang Theory because it was so popular. I love that show. Star Trek was portrayed in that show to be what people who grew up in the 90s were told Star Trek was.
Okay, that makes sense.
Does that make sense? Like, it's that, oh, you think this is what it is? Well, let's just own it and wear it. And this is how it's going to be. Because all those people writing Big Bang Theory were all nerds back in the 90s.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? So like the nerdiness, we're going to sit around and play Klingon Boggle, and we're going to speak in Klingon, and we're going to have the debates over who's better, Picard or Kirk. And you know what? Frankly, those are things like Jeff, have you ever spent any time on Duolingo learning Klingon?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Are you fluent in Klingon at this point?
No.
Neither am I. So, but yeah, have
I
you done
switched
it?
to
Yeah,
Spanish.
hell yeah, I have.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
did it and switched to Spanish pretty quickly because Klingon's hard.
Right. Right. But you know, Katerina says she feels like it was the first big cultural reference for Star Trek that she encountered. I found those cultural references personally well before that, so I didn't have that necessarily.
Wasn't Will Wheaton on the show a couple times?
Will Wheaton was in the show several times. Yeah,
yeah,
and he was his own character has an arc within the show, playing himself. LeVar Burton was on the show. I'm trying to figure out who Leonard Nimoy, so Adam Nimoy, he was on the show.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they had several of the folks kind of cross over a bit. So yeah, I think a part of what made Big Bang Theory work was it played into the stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that word exactly as it's the stereotypes. You can't overanalyze it because it's just stereotypes. It played into those and it owned them and wore them like a badge of honor.
Okay.
Which is what I think is part of what made nerd culture cool.
To cross that line.
Exactly. So
that's cool. I didn't not watch it because I didn't like it or whatever. It just never, like, I was aware it was there, but I wasn't necessarily watching a lot of like network TV and stuff at the time. And so I just didn't watch it. And when it's on, I'm like, oh, I watch it. That's kind of funny. It's kind of interesting, but I've never felt compelled to dive in. Last fact to kind of put the little piece on that one from Katerina also. Apparently, Star Trek wasn't really on the air in Russia on TV, at least in the 90s. So that's probably a big reason why Big Bang Theory was one of her first exposures to it. Can't imagine why they wouldn't have Star Trek on the air in Russia. Jeff says with his tongue firmly planted in his cheek.
All right, this is a great one to close this on, Jeff. Katerina says, considering everything here, it's not just about Babylon 5. It's about it being JMS's creation and him being such an amazing person. This is his creation and we're protecting it for him. It's his impact, his values, and this is what brings us together. Well said, Katerina.
Very
well said with that. So, Jeff, why don't we get out of here? Let's close this bad boy up. We have done the whole thing.
Tied a bow on the first time.
Yeah, and now starts the second time. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Patreon. Thank you, Council Chambers. You guys are phenomenal folks, and we can't wait to see you guys. Should we say what we say? Next week has been pre-recorded.
Yeah.
So the next time we'll see you guys is actually Midnight on the Firing Line. So
Correct. Yeah, we're throwing up The Gathering that we already did watch for the second time.
it is our second watch. That's
It
what
is.
we're watching.
I don't want to watch it again ever.
No, yeah.
Spoiler alert.
It was really good the first time.
It was, yeah.
It got me
brought
into
us
the show
here.
the first time. Yeah. Yeah.
Brought us here.
Yeah. After that. All right. Hey, we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you later. Bye.